Awesome. Coach, appreciate you taking some time to join with me this morning to go over some baseball, talk recruiting. Appreciate the time. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, Andy. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I know been an exciting time for you, man. Like just about a month or so on the job there at St. Peter's, getting some things rolling. I'm sure still, breaking things out, getting the boxes emptied in the office there. But tell me a little bit about kind of the transition, how things have been looking for you this fall so far.
Yeah, like you said, kind of a month into this thing
Yeah.
now. Been hiring some assistants. They've been
Hmm.
great so far. Been meeting the team, meeting the guys, admin, getting a
Yeah.
layout of the field and how stuff works here. So it's been busy, but it's been a fun challenge for sure.
That's awesome. So getting some staff hired up. Are you pretty well staffed now? Still kind of looking for some guys, or what's kind of the staff come? How's it looking?
Yeah, looking to add one more assistant.
Yeah.
Got a pitching coach, Alex Fishberg, who has some
Hmm.
experience at Iona and
Hmm.
and Stack, and then my recruiting coordinator, Jeremy Duran, was at Felician College, who just
Awesome.
went to the D2 World Series, and
Hmm.
he was at Raritan Valley as well. So, guys with
Awesome.
some experience at multiple levels and younger staff,
Yeah.
but we're workers. We're
Awesome.
getting to it.
Well, and younger yourself, man. I mean, I was looking at your background a little bit. I mean, that's it's awesome to have this opportunity. But tell me a little bit about kind of the journey you took to get to this point. So I always like our families who are listening in when they get a chance to hear from some college coaches to hear a little bit about their own recruiting journey, right? So some of the guys I talk to, they're older like myself, and it's like we talk about VHS tapes and all that. But your process is a little bit more recent. So how did you end up deciding on Hartford? Kind of tell us a little bit about your process on just going through the recruiting yourself.
Yeah. So even when I was being recruited, we didn't have as many events or social media
Yep.
exposure back then as there is now. So I was fortunate enough to be decently recruited by D1, D2, all, like
Hmm.
multiple levels. Went on multiple visits. Ended up committing to Temple
Mm.
actually August going into my senior year. Signed. They dropped baseball
Yep.
that November, December. So I was kind of behind it now with
Wow.
definitely in terms of scholarship money too. Was talking to Hartford that summer, never visited.
Hmm.
Just couldn't get up there for some reason. They like came back in the conversation once they saw the Temple situation, went up on a visit, loved the coaching staff,
Yeah.
loved what they were trying to build there. Coach Blood took over. His first season was either 2011 or 2012, and the year before he got there, they had 6 wins. So
Wow. Yep.
my whole goal was to kind of have a chance to play right away and change a program.
Hmm.
And that's what we did by the time my senior year rolled around. Went to the first regional in program history. So I guess things work out for a reason, but my
Yeah.
recruiting experience is definitely a little unique for sure.
It's crazy when you hear about like those late changes, right? And then having to make that quick pivot in the process. So it's still pretty good that you're able to find that opportunity then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like empathize with any kids that have to go
Yeah.
through it themselves, especially
Yeah.
in today's climate.
Absolutely. And Hartford, another interesting kind of scenario too, in your transition to coaching and then, making the change from Division 1 to Division 3 and kind of being part of that. They're not the only program, right? There's other schools. Azusa Pacific made a change recently, going from D2 going down to D3. So, there's colleges that are sort of deciding on different changes in philosophies. Just, I'm curious, kind of what was that transition like for you guys? I'm sure as a former player there, it was probably a little bit like, what the heck are we doing? But tell me a little bit about kind of the transition there and how that affected sort of the athletic department there.
Yeah, so when they announced it, I was an assistant coach at Ramapo College at the time
Yeah,
at D3 in the
yeah.
NJAC. Pretty good history there. So when the announcement came out, the head coach there decided, he has an opportunity to go back home and coach at Keene
Hmm.
State. So he
Hmm.
left. Steve Malinowski, who recruited me, was my hitting coach there, got
Hmm.
elevated to head coach. So an
Hmm.
opportunity opened up. And the way the transition timeline works, you still have a couple
Yeah.
years left at
Hmm.
Division 1. So I'm like, he reached out to me, offered me the job. And I figured it's a good way to get recruiting experience at the Division
Hmm.
One level, coaching
Yeah.
game experience at the Division 1 level. So I had 2 years at D1 there.
Hmm.
Ended up making the conference tournament on the last weekend with a depleted roster, I guess
Yeah.
you could call it. And then had 2 years at the D3 level. But I
Hmm.
think the thing it helped me do the most is I really had to recruit and learn how to get guys into a situation that to the outside world did not seem
Yeah.
favorable. Like I think my first two recruiting classes were close to 20 each just because of
Hmm.
the transfer. Like guys transferring to stay at the Division I level. So
Yep.
our last D1 year was an independent year, and
Yep.
we're pretty much playing with all freshmen. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to teach those, like, it's a recruiting experience and it's also a coaching experience. Like,
Yes.
you got to play these freshmen because they make up a majority of your roster,
Yep.
and you got to really coach them through, how different college baseball is at that level.
Which I'm sure has prepared you for the transition here to St. Peter's, and
Absolutely.
so, and getting kind of hired later here, that's a little bit of kind of a behind the eight ball feeling, I'm sure, right? I mean, there really probably wasn't much of a chance to recruit much for this year. So talk about kind of hey man, all right, we got these returning guys. Maybe we got some late dudes we picked up, or some very, very late, maybe transfer guys or something. But kind of talk about how the team is coming together right now, just for this particular year, and how you guys are kind of handling sort of the transition there.
Yeah, like you said, kind of interesting timeline with it all. Kind of didn't bring any of my own players in. There are 2 players on the roster that were with me at Hartford.
Sure. Yeah.
So have some familiarity there. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much, you get the job and you kind of see the names, and you're just going through PBR, Twitter, looking at their highlights before you even meet them, just to see what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 2 weeks for us really were all kind of eval showcase based, not really diving too much into position specific work, just more so seeing how they play, put them in live situations, and see what we got.
Yeah.
We just had our first outside competition on Sunday against Felician. Went pretty well. So I think the group is trending in the right direction, kind of buying into what we want to do. And then I kind of told them, like, hey, like, we'll get into the specifics come individual time, come mid-October, stuff like that. We'll start to hit the development phase. But for now, trying to take care of the in-game stuff, the stuff that matters for wins,
Yep, absolutely. So this is going to be a good year of, like, hey, we're going to lay some foundation. We're going to establish some philosophy. We're going to see what we got, see who's going to maybe be around, post this, and then we'll try to get some of our guys in as well in recruiting. So kind of talk about, that initial, we're early, I mean, just still getting settled in, but I know you're getting after it on the recruiting side of things, of course, too, because that's really going to be sort of the future lifeblood of the program. So talk about kind of how things are coming together there, what kind of the plan is for, getting some guys in, looking beyond this year.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some 26s already committed to before I got the job. So obviously we've gone out, we've seen them play just to do our due diligence. Have 2 recruits of our own that we've kind of seen prior to this hiring. I guess you'd call it, fortunate enough to be involved with a really good travel program in New England while I was coaching at Hartford. So I was always out on the circuit with them. I know some of those guys. Ended up working out. But yeah, like I said, 26 class for us. There are still some spots available. I think the way you really turn a program around is by bringing in high school guys, developing them, raising them in your culture, your standards. And then, looking to get the 27s rolling too. Like you said, kind of recruiting never stops, obviously in the dead periods, but it really never stops. And you're always trying to, improve your roster in some regard.
Absolutely. So did you have a lot of guys? So you mentioned there were some previous commits, obviously some guys that are returning. Did you really kind of maintain or kind of hold on to most of those guys? Were there a few kind of defectors or some guys that were like, all right, I think I'm going to kind of get out? I mean, every program nowadays is experiencing that, right? No matter where we're at. But, were you able to kind of maintain some of those guys or have some conversations with some of those guys?
Yeah, that was kind of like in the first week of getting the job, I hopped on the phone with all those verbal commits, kind of said, hey, like, we'll honor it. You want to be here. That's great. I just we should probably meet or see you play just so you're familiar with me and I'm familiar with you, because once you come here, like, I'm your coach, kind of thing. So no, everything's been good on that front so far.
Awesome.
Even with the roster here, I don't think anyone really transferred out once I was announced. So everyone's bought in for the most part.
Awesome. You mentioned kind of there's a lot of different philosophies nowadays, right? Like some programs are almost fully just relying on the transfer portal and bringing in older guys, and just like let's plug and play, and we'll fill a spot with an older dude. We'll bring him in from somewhere. You mentioned the philosophy of like, hey, we kind of like the idea of let's get guys in from high school and develop them and build that culture. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer necessarily, but kind of talk a little bit more about why you think that is a better path for your particular program, kind of going with the high school guys and letting that sort of develop, rather than, it could be very easy for you right now to say, we got to just go get a bunch of JUCO dudes and let's raid the portal and let's get this thing rolling. But, why do you think that the high school recruit path is kind of a better path for you guys there?
Yeah, I just think we offer a little more opportunity to
Hmm.
play earlier in your
Yep.
career
Yep.
here, which is very advantageous for the high school kids.
Hmm.
And on the other front too, like the player of the year in our conference or similar conferences, like they're not transferring to that level. Like
Yeah.
they're trying to go to the Power Four, right?
Hmm.
So I can
Hmm.
understand why at that level, you grade the portal, you get a guy who's had
Yeah.
200, 300 college at bats already, who's
Hmm.
physical, has seen everything. But for us, we're still in that development
Yep.
level where, bringing your own guys.
Hmm.
Sure, if we have a need at a certain position, like, yeah, I'll look to the portal to kind
Hmm.
of plug it in or replace what we don't have. Or if we lose something, if a kid has a
Hmm.
really good year and he wants to test the market, like that's just the world we live
Yep.
in nowadays.
Yep. Yep.
Hopefully, if he's having that good of a year, it's leading to wins for us too.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, I think that's why I think at our level, like, still got to lock in on the high school recruits for the most part.
Absolutely. And so talk a little about, for anyone listening in who maybe isn't as familiar with St. Peter's, just kind of give a little bit of some insight into kind of the school, the conference you guys play in, give a little bit of some insight into just kind of the program and what kind of the world is around the college baseball program there.
Yeah, yeah. So St. Peter's campus is right in the heart of Jersey City.
Hmm. Hmm.
By a 10-minute path train ride from New York City. So you're in an urban environment, you're in the
Hmm.
thick of it. Probably the outside world knows St. Peter's most for their basketball run a couple
Hmm.
years ago to the
Yep.
Elite
Yep.
Eight. We're in the MAC, so very similar schools, private schools, most of them with some type of religious
Hmm.
affiliation or background. We're a Jesuit school. I
Hmm.
think the only one in New Jersey. So the education piece is pretty big here
Yeah.
in terms of like your 4 years, like the different types of classes you're going to take, kind of developing the whole person. And that's the goal of our program too. Like obviously we want to win, but my role as a coach here is to have you be a better person and better
Yeah.
man by the time you leave over 4 years.
Hmm.
So like I said, field, a lot of people that I've been running into say our field has like one of the cooler views in the Northeast.
Hmm.
But when you think of it, it's just like two or three like high arching bridges in the outfield with a couple factory steam poles behind it. But it's a unique setting.
Yeah.
Um, it's a hitter's park depending on the day.
Hmm.
But like I said, in a pretty stable conference in a pretty hustling, busy area.
Hmm.
So you kind of
Hmm.
get to experience a lot of everything here.
And that's part of what you're looking at in the recruits, right? Is like, hey man, we got to make sure that the recruits are a good fit for our school, that they, want to be in this, sort of environment, kind of location wise and so forth. Like there's a lot that goes into it. Not every school is the exact right fit for every single player, and that's part of what you're evaluating in the process too. If you get an email from some kid from, the cornfields in Kansas, hey man, it sounds good, but you might want to come visit. Let's see, see if this is where you can see yourself at. So talk a little bit
Exactly.
about kind of your approach with recruiting now. Like where are you kind of getting out to see guys? And again, I know you're still pretty fresh and still
Yeah.
probably just getting your list going, but when you kind of think about your overall philosophy of what you want to accomplish, where are you going to want to try to look at guys at? Are you going to focus locally? Are you going to be, really kind of thinking like, man, we'll bring in anybody from anywhere? What are you kind of thinking?
Yeah. So I was always taught coming up, like as a coach, like you never pass up or overlook the local talent,
Yeah.
right? You
Yep.
don't want it to come back and bite you if
Hmm.
they go to an in-conference opponent.
Yep.
You try to keep the guys home that you think are good enough to play at that level. But like I said, on our roster right now, we have kids from Australia, Canada,
Mm-hmm.
California, Florida. Like we have guys from
Mm-hmm.
all over. So
Mm-hmm.
my biggest thing though is like you said, being able to see them play in a game in person. Like yes, the showcase video is great. A
Mm-hmm.
showcase is great. Online numbers, stats is all like good and all that, but I need to see it, how it works in the game and how you compete. Um, feel like today a lot of guys get caught up in the training aspect and are very
Mm-hmm.
comfortable indoors in a batting cage with a hit tracks or a track man behind them or whatever it is. But then once you see another jersey on the other side of it, something goes off, or it's
Mm-hmm.
not the same guy that
Mm-hmm.
that you saw in that showcase setting. So that's why we really try to get out and see guys as much as possible. We're lucky enough with our location, you know, Diamond Nation is an hour
Yep.
away. The
Yep.
Boston Open is doable for us. Anything in New York that's run we could get to, even as far south as maybe the DC area isn't a
Mm-hmm.
bad drive for us.
Mm-hmm.
So the two biggest events for me, I guess, in the summer circuit would be Super 17 and the Boston Open. You get
Mm-hmm.
a lot done there if you're proactive and schedule it
Okay.
out the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's pretty much our philosophy. We're going to get busy in the summer. And then whatever camps we run to, or for me, are always important. I know they kind of get a bad rap with
Hmm.
certain travel programs, but that's the biggest way for me where you're going to be able to experience how coachable a kid is. You know, when you get into the drill work, like, does he respond? Does he push back? Or like, does he pick it up in the first rep? And then you
Yep.
don't have to say it to him again, because that's great.
Mhm.
Like, that's the kind of kid you want.
Yep.
And then for the player too, it's like, I didn't really like how the assistant coaches like interacted, or like I didn't
Mhm.
like the energy they brought. So it's like it works for both sides.
Mhm.
And like you said, you get to really see what campus is like, what the area is like, where you're just not going in blind. And then moving day, you're like, what did I get myself into?
Yep. Yep. So let's get into the camps a little bit, because man, that's like one of our most common topics of conversation when we're working with our families, is helping them navigate the camps. We really try to impress on families, like, you're going to get a lot of camp invites, but as you said, it is a great way for the coaches to see you. So kind of talk about like how you handle your camps. Do you guys have some scheduled already? How often are you running them? Just kind of give some insight into kind of how you guys are going to be utilizing camps, you think?
Yeah, so trying to get settled in here, we wanted to get a
Yeah.
date down later on in the fall where like
Yep.
we didn't have our own team stuff going on. So we have a prospect camp October 19th.
Okay.
And like you said, for us, we kind of run it like a practice for the
Yeah.
first half. You know, it's like we take you through different drills our infielders do,
Mhm.
what a batting practice rotation looks like. Get some numbers on you, like see how
Yep.
you move around and stuff like that too. And then pretty much at the back end of it is like kind of competing. Like we'll
Yep.
script out a couple live innings, live shells that go out there, batters, and just see how it works from there. See
Mhm.
how what changes once the game starts. Um,
Yeah.
like I said, it's kind of a practice and a game all in one for us on our own field. So the
Mhm.
player gets to see, you know, the surface, the area, and everything that goes into it.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, yeah, whenever we talk to our families, we always make sure to just help them understand, like, if you want to get in front of a coach, and again, as you mentioned, if you're out kind of outside of that region that you just described there, Coach Ward may not be able to make it out to, Mississippi to come see you play, or he may not be able to make it out to Oklahoma City to come see you play. So it's like, if you are interested in the program, you might need to get in front of him. It doesn't mean he's not going to recruit you, but you might have to
Yeah.
take a little effort to get in front of him as well.
And you get it like our undivided attention. It's
Yeah.
our four coaches on our own field with those campers. I'm not a
Yeah.
Diamond Nation at field 4, and then, oh, there's a cool looking pitcher at field 1. Let me just like take a couple steps over here
Yeah.
and see what he looks like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, undivided attention. We're there the whole day trying to make you better and really trying to
Mhm.
evaluate you, because at the end of that, hopefully you're a piece that we're going to want to further recruit for our
Mhm.
program. So
Yeah, absolutely. Now, talk a little bit more about kind of what you look for. Like, so, you played at the Division I level. You obviously coached at Hartford, competing against a lot of Division I programs, during those last couple of years at the Division I level. So you have a very good idea of what a Division I baseball player looks like, right? And have
yeah.
probably an idea in your head of like, this is what our ideal St. Peter's kind of guy would look like. So give a little insight into that when you're evaluating players. When you see them, what are the kind of things that stand out, whether it's, the physicality or the metrics or whatever it is, what are the kind of things that are going to say, yep, that looks the kind of guy we might want to get to know better?
Yeah, so you touched on one. I think college baseball is older and more
Yeah.
physical than it's ever been, right?
Mhm.
So physicality, or projectable
Yeah.
physicality, I guess you could call it, would definitely be a piece of that for me. Um, Defensively, like, are the routine plays routine for you, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Free outs or free base runners is a killer at this level, because it's also more offensive of a game as it's ever been, I feel like, too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, on the offensive end, swing decisions. Are you swinging in the zone? Are you chasing? Can you catch up to velo?
Mhm.
And a personal one for me, being a hitting guy, is, can you get to the pull side on velo?
Mhm.
Right? Because it's easier to slow a guy down and like teach him to go middle of the
Yep.
field backside than it is to try to speed them up. Because if they have
Mhm.
to speed up and cheat the stuff, then you're in trouble. You're in
Yep.
trouble. Once you're facing this level of pitching. And then kind of like a sneaky one for me that I always prided myself on as a player would be the IQ.
Mhm.
Um, are you in the right positions defensively? You know, are you dropping a bunt down against a good pitcher when the corners are back just to get a base runner and get something going?
Mhm.
Um, just stuff like that you don't have to teach as often or repeat it to them in practice. If they have the IQ and the instincts to just do it, like I saw it a lot Sunday at Felician. It was fired me up as a coach, like stuff we go over, whether it's like small base running things or like kid dropped the bunt down up 3, kid was
Mhm.
back, he ended up scoring. Like
Mhm.
stuff like that, like
Yep.
goes a long way over a 56 game season.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And when you see that IQ stuff, that's going to come through more in a game scenario. You know, you could watch 10 players who all look kind of similar metrics wise and size wise, but now it's like the next level. Now we got to see how they compete, and now we see what they do when the lights are on. But
Yeah.
are there any like baseline sort of metrics, right? I know that's always a really common question from our families too. You know, and we know metrics are part of the equation. It's not always the most important thing. There's always a lot of give and take, and different programs look for different things. But you know, just kind of from your perspective, you know, if you're just kind of giving a family advice on, hey man, all right, to kind of be in the ballpark, you know, what would be some goals for guys to hit with like certain kind of metrics, certain kind of positions, at least to just kind of maybe get a look to say, all right, maybe there's something to work with there.
Yeah. So speaking at a showcase last week, and from the pitching side of things, like velo and spin rate get you the interest, or like
Right.
get the coaches at the door. Like, all right, well, come see it play. We want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, pitching velos anything over mid 80s or
Mm-hmm.
mid to upper 80s. If you can
Mm-hmm.
hold it for multiple innings, that's
Mm-hmm.
really good. Like obviously those are the sexy numbers. I feel like the one that's becoming more and more popular is spin rate.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to spin it at this level.
Mm-hmm.
So anything north of like 25, 26 is a good baseline, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, athletically, you know, anything under a 7.160 is good.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking baselines here. Um, arm velo, I mean, obviously the higher the velo, the more
Yeah.
attractive it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I struggle with this answer because I've never really
Right.
recruited a kid strictly off his metrics.
Yep.
They
Yep.
just get me to want to go see it and see
Mm-hmm.
how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you throw 90 miles an hour, but you're 1.8 to the plate and you can't change that, I can't use you unless you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to let up a runner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if it's 90 miles an hour, I know I forget what organization did it, but no one cares how hard you throw a ball for. Like our lowest velo guy this past weekend threw a 6-pitch inning. That's the inning
Yep.
that stands out to me the most. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
6 pitches efficient. All right, let's get off the field. Let's hit. I would never
Yeah.
have to worry about that guy being in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, you do want some swing and miss on your staff,
Mm-hmm.
but it needs to be efficient.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
there's always gonna be different guys that have different roles. You know, some guys might be the harder thrower guys, some guys might be the more, you know, maybe we can kind of be a little more crafty type of player. There's always gonna be a different, you know, kind of a role that guys have as well, right?
yeah. And a 6'6", 60 outfielder,
Mm-hmm.
like might run worse routes than the 7 flat outfielder.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
6'6" doesn't really play like that in game.
Yep.
Like that's
Yep.
why I harp on seeing how it works in game. Because yes,
Yeah.
metrics will get me to come see your game, but I just want to back it up.
Yeah, I love it. That's great advice for the families to hear. I think that you know, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of times players get so caught up in the training aspect and getting to numbers that they forget, as you said, the competitive aspect of it, and so they become that workout warrior that really, like you said, once we get in between the lines, it doesn't seem to be working for some reason.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit more, Coach, about kind of how important the academic piece is. You said St. Peter's is a very, very strong academic school. You know, first of all, what are some of like the stronger academic programs, or what are some of the programs that a lot of students, just student body, that you know are maybe drawn to St. Peter's for like the majors or academics there? And then you know, how important is that going to be in your evaluation of a potential recruit on how well they're a fit for your school?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of popular majors here right now would be business.
Mm-hmm.
One, I mean, kind of right in the heart of like just outside of New York City. So the
Yeah.
networking there is very strong. You got nursing here, you
Mm-hmm.
got the sciences. It's pretty diverse from an academic portfolio. But I
Awesome.
know business is probably at the forefront of that. A sneaky one would be like IT,
Mm.
analytics, stuff like that. I've actually met some of those professors, so working on some analytical, you know,
Oh yeah.
scouting
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that, potentially down the road. But in terms of the importance, it's huge. It's more academic money you could potentially get on that front. It's knowing that you get your work done, so not just baseball wise, but
Yeah.
academically. Like I'm not gonna have to worry about you, you know, missing study hall or
Mm-hmm.
not getting your
Mm-hmm.
assignments in, being ineligible. And we have a team GPA goal too. I think it was a 3.3 that we put down that we wanted with a 40-man roster. Like
Yeah.
if you had a 10 person roster with golf or whatever, it's pretty manageable. But all those guys, they got to make sure they're all at a high standard.
Yeah.
So if you could show me that you take care of your academics, the baseball piece is easy for me. It's the
Absolutely.
guys who are always juggling or behind on things that you got to always pull along, and you question whether they ever reach their full potential by the time they get out of here.
Absolutely. So that's going to be a huge part of it. You've got to know that you're not going to worry about that guy in the classroom when they get there. So,
Exactly.
because of that, with rosters getting kind of squeezed a little bit at some of those highest levels, and then so guys have to then, all right, well, now these guys are ended up at these programs. Well, now these guys are at these levels. And, so the Division III baseball, which is where you're coming out of, it's probably as good as it's ever been, right? The junior college baseball. I mean, there are absolute like powerhouses there. So, just kind of for the families, I always love them to hear that, kind of stuff from coaches, just kind of talk about coming from that world and now moving up to Division I, but just kind of talk about how good college baseball is at all levels here these days.
Yeah, like you just touched on it. Like D1, D2, D3 now are very competitive, top to
Mm-hmm.
bottom. And that's why I kind of stressed earlier. We're like, if I'm a high school kid, I want to go to where I want to play.
Yeah.
Like, yes, Division I is the goal for most people. But just because you go D3 your first year or two doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
that you won't go D1. Like our
Yeah.
conference at Hartford, the Conference of New England, I think in the last 2 years we sent about at least 10 to 15 transfers to
Oh
the
yeah.
Division I level. So you got to get game experience, and you got to
Mm-hmm.
go to a coaching staff that is going to invest in you to be able to allow you that opportunity down the road.
And like you said, some coaches, I mean, if they have the choice between, well, this untested freshman or, this proven all region, all American D3 kid who's been there for 2 or 3 years and now he's a grown man. And like, I'm probably going to go with that guy. Even if he doesn't pan out, it's like it's only a 1 or 2 year, kind of thing versus, man, this 4 year guy, that's going to be a 4 year thing to figure out then. So, for a lot of coaches, again, not everybody has that philosophy, but a lot of coaches, it's kind of like, hey, who can help me win today? Right.
Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
coach's job is to win. They got to
That's
keep their
right.
jobs. They got to provide for their families.
Yep.
They got to win.
Yep.
So they're going to go with whatever makes sense.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, Coach, just while I got to hear, and I don't want to keep you too long here this morning. I know you've had some things popping up here, but just some advice for the families in recruiting. You've been doing it for a while. You've been at a couple different programs. You've seen different, been part of different programs, different division levels, and so forth. Just what are some pieces of advice you have for the families? What are some things that you've seen that are like maybe some red flags that have popped up in your experience with like, oh, that's something we might want to avoid because of that, and just some general advice that you might leave for the families here that are listening today.
Yeah. I would say personal emails. Make
Mm-hmm.
sure, like when you're writing a personal email, you have a strong subject
Yeah.
and that you are addressing the right school and the right coach.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how often
Mm-hmm.
that gets messed up. If a coach reaches out to you, this is a big one for me. At least give them the respect of answering them back, or if you're going in a different direction, let them know.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't do that with Hartford, I don't know if they come back and recruit me that second time
Mm-hmm.
around. And if I'm speaking at an event or a showcase or whatever, I like to tell all the parents to look behind me. Like, you see all these coaches? Probably a quarter of them will be wearing different school shirts next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Mm-hmm.
coaching carousel is real. It happens every year.
Yep.
And you don't want to burn bridges.
Yep.
Because I talk to Sacred Heart's assistant coach almost every day. Like, so if you're not a fit for me or you're not a fit for them, they might recommend you to me. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're not the best person to them, then that possibility
Yep.
is off the table.
Yep.
And then kind of the last piece to me would be, like we touched on earlier, like invest in a really good, strength and conditioning coach.
Mm-hmm.
One that actually knows what they're doing, isn't just giving you a cookie cutter program, but can help take your game to that next level and keep you healthy.
Yeah.
Right? It's tough to see a guy that's always dinged up and healthy because you don't know how durable he is. 56 game season, full fall season's a lot. So you got to be able to get guys that are going to be able to withstand that and be on the field for you. You can't go into a conference series with 15 guys hurt. You have no chance.
Mm-hmm.
So get healthy, learn the game outside of the training element,
Mm-hmm.
and over communicate with coaches in the right way.
Yeah, I think that, and we talk with our families about that all the time, as far as like communication with coaches is so important, and you never know where they're going to be. That just like you said, that coach that you're talking to there, he may be somewhere else, and maybe that conversation can continue with them at another place. So
And
love this.
one more, I just
go ahead.
That's been getting like a pet peeve of mine within the past month. Or I noticed it over the past year, really, even when I was at Hartford. I would text a kid like, "Hey, we've been in contact. Like, hey, when are you available for a call?" And say it's a Monday. Coach, I'm really not available until Friday, Saturday. When I was a player, if a coach asked me if I was ready for a call right now,
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Yep.
So like,
Yep.
if recruiting and getting recruited is a priority for you, kind of reflect that in the timeline that you're getting back to somebody.
I love that. Have some urgency, right? Like that, there are things, life is busy, but
Yes,
you can find
totally
10 minutes.
understand that.
Yep.
But like, I'm not looking for a half hour of your time. It's just like 10-minute check-in.
Yep. Yep. I love it. That's great advice, man. We're going to clip that one out for everybody to hear. So awesome. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time, man. This has been awesome. Let us know what we can do to help you, of course, moving forward. But I'd love to get you back on a conversation here sometime down the road, and we can just kind of shoot the breeze on some more recruiting topics for sure. So
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Andy. Appreciate it.
awesome. Thanks for coming in, Coach. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.